movement and the black pill movement was born out of pickup artistry. The origin, if you trace it back using internet history, of the incel black pill ideology was I think it was a subreddit or a website called PUA Hate, Pickup Artist Hate. And what it was a group of men who had been through the pipeline of pickup artistry and come out the other side with a very jaded and even more jaded view of the world.
More jaded.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. So what happens if a guy learns old school, mid-20 noughts pickup artistry is you realize that there is a particular set of actions, a script that you can run, which makes it more likely that a woman is going to go to bed with you.
Right.
But what you realize when you do that, as you learn how to neg and do Kino escalation and tell them that story about the midget fight outside or whatever your script is that you're running, you then begin to see just how far away that person is from the person that you actually show up as.
Right.
Who you are and this extravagant persona that you need to convolute into existence in order to get this woman into bed makes you feel...
worse even.
Feel the gap between where you are and what you have to do in order to achieve the thing that you want. Now, what you don't realize is that there are a million other ways that you could become sufficiently charming to get this person to like you. This is
actually doing it, for example.
This is just one that happens to be robust and easy enough to write down in a book and easy enough for most guys to replicate.
It's basically a form of scripted psychopathy. So what a psychopath does is feign competence, right? So most psychopaths are very emotionally stable. And so one of the early stage markers for competence is self-possession and calmness. And so if you're not an anxious person, you've got an edge on that already. And most psychopaths are very high in emotional stability. And so they look confident, because confident people tend not to be that nervous. Like if you're doing something you're expert at, well, you're not nervous because you know how to do it. Okay, so the lack of nervousness is a hint to competence. Well, you can feign that. You can feign competence. You can feign confidence. That's what the pickup artists teach. Now, I would say there's even some utility in what they do, right? Because if you're dependent and bitter and resentful and charmless and self-destructive and nervous and socially unskilled, the probability that you're going to be successful with women is very, very low. Okay, so you should be other than who you are. Now, if you start putting on this persona, then you could think about that as a new suit of clothes, and you could learn through that how to fill in the gaps.
Fake it until you make it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But if you take on that without doing the effort necessary to integrate that in a genuine way, then all that's happening is that you're being rewarded for being fake, right? And that's part of the problem with that too, is that you're practicing learning how to manipulate people in a psychopathic way. And if you practice that, of course you're going to become jaded. Like there's nothing more jaded than a psychopath. I mean, that's the ultimate extreme of jadedness. And if you practice manipulating, especially if the women happen to be reasonably good women, if you practice manipulating them and you're successful, then you're learning to be one horrible person. Now,